raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness with your hosts John McCaskill and Will Schneider. Here we focus on helping men and those with men in their lives solve some of life's complex challenges through understanding the practices of mindfulness and how they can help. Each episode is in an environment free of judgment and criticism, with a focus on authenticity and inner peace. Let's dig in.
We've all heard some version of the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But how many times are we more harsh with ourselves than we are with others? How rarely do we practice self-compassion? Now, several months ago, we had Dr. Jim Doty on the show. Jim is a neurosurgeon, philanthropist, entrepreneur, author, and founder of the Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education, CCARE, at Stanford. In his book, Into the Magic Shop, which we covered in that show, in that episode, Jim covers the power of compassion and how it serves as the foundation for so much else. Will is going through one of CCARE's courses right now, and I'm sure we'll cover what he's learning there. Very much looking forward to hearing all about that. Additionally, I recently listened to the Book of Joy while driving to Texas with my mom. Again, that's the Book of Joy. In the Book of Joy, Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama came together in Dharamsala, India, to celebrate the Dalai Lama's 80th birthday. And this is back in 2015 when Bishop Desmond Tutu was still alive. And they came together to create what they hoped would be a gift for others. In this amazing read, the two of them discuss how important compassion is, not only to help society run more smoothly and with more love and free of pain, but also for us to feel joy and live a more fulfilling life individually. They actually say to live a life of joy is impossible without compassion, and more specifically, self-compassion. All right, welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness. I am John McCaskill. Each week, my co-host Will Schneider and I break down and demystify an aspect of mindfulness and make it meaningful to you. This week, we're covering self-compassion, and we're going to delve right into that here in a moment. But first, I'm going to turn it over to my brother from another mother, Will, for some announcements.
Good to be back, John. Thank you. I'm really excited for this topic today, self-compassion. I'm actually taking their Cultivating the Heart course is the name of the course. I'm taking it with Stanford through CCARE. It's with Dr. Doty's foundation, who is actually funded by the Dalai Lama. So it's nice that you kind of made a little link there.
Yeah.
And bringing joy into the conversation as we begin to talk about compassion as well. So announcements. Join our YouTube. We're growing on our YouTube. We're going to be adding more during the break. We have a little break coming up in a few weeks. To just be with our families during the holidays. So if you want to join our YouTube, you can just simply on YouTube go to @Men Talking Mindfulness and find us, and you can go back and look at old snippets of episodes we've done. We have a bunch of the little mindfulness things that I've created back in the past. We have meditations on there, so a lot of content out there if you just want to drop in for 4 or 5 minutes and get a little taste of the wisdom that comes from the show. So thanks for supporting us over there on YouTube. Save the date, everybody. We have a retreat coming on the East Coast, May 18th to the 21st here in Upstate New York. We found a great space. We signed a contract last week. The money's delivered as we speak, is being delivered as we speak. So save the date. We're going to do another Mindfulness Adventure Retreat in Upstate New York on the East Coast, May 18th to the 21st. And it's going to be a really great time and a nice immersive experience and a gorgeous, very, very peaceful. I went up to this place, John. Very peaceful place to be, which will really help you. I know it's going to be fantastic. It's going to help you just to kind of detach from the technology, get deeper into yourself. It's on 400 acres and it's 7 miles of walking trails. It's really a magnificent space. As soon as I got out of the car, I was like, whoa, this is a different energy. So I'm excited to bring that to our participants and continually offer that to our audience. And it sounds like we'll probably fill it up. I'm sure we can take the space is limited, like 20, 25 people. We're also offering Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. I call it the midweek refresh sesh on Insight Timer. It's free, it's virtual, it's live, 6:30 p.m. Wednesday. So if you want to drop in just for 30 minutes and do a little breath of meditation just to kind of help you get back to yourself, maybe release some stress from the day or from the week, and begin to enhance your meditation practice. Even if you've never done a practice before, join me on Wednesdays. Would really be great.
That's
And
6:30
all
p.m. Eastern, right?
Yeah, Eastern time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, live. And maybe you can drop that in the show notes, John. I'll put the
Yeah,
link in here
absolutely.
in the notes in a great way, because I'm gonna do it every week, and have a little audience growing over there, and so just a great way just to kind of teach, in a free and live format. I thought it'd be great.
And Will's got a lot of content on there, just like he does on YouTube. He's got a lot of meditations on there. It's not just this live stuff. You can check out Will and myself on Insight Timer. Shameless there for both of us.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. The shameless. We're spreading the love, John. We're spreading the love. There's no shame in spreading love and mindfulness and peace across the world, right?
That's right. Amen.
Anyway, so little 5 breaths, John. You want to jump in and do that? Or you want me to?
Yeah, man. I'll jump in and I'll lead it.
Yeah.
All good, man. And I need it. I was telling our EA this morning, Lindsay, that and this show is perfect timing on self-compassion. I had a little stressful morning with my kids, and it reached kind of a pinnacle point, and I noticed that I started to get upset, and then I got upset with myself for getting upset, and I started to beat myself up, and I was on this downward spiral, and I was like, okay, I've got to do the stop, right? S.T.O.P, which I know you're going to get into later in the episode, what that means, but I needed that, and now I need this 5 breaths just to calm myself down and get back into the state of peace, the state of readiness, the state of calm. So for those listening, for those watching, whatever is safe and comfortable for you, get into that position. And then just bring yourself and your attention to your breath. And let's begin by emptying our lungs, bringing that navel to your spine. Empty, empty, empty. And this is where we'll start. Deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs all the way up. Noticing that fullness at the top, holding it, and release, 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 emptying all the way out, holding empty at the bottom. That's 1 deep breath in, filling that belly into your chest, center of your chest and top of your chest. Hold at the top and release, release, release. Holding empty, 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 appreciating that emptiness. Deep breath in from the bottom to the top. Hold at the top and let it go. Let it go nice and slow, slow, slow. Empty, empty, empty. Deep breath in. Feeling that breath, your breath coming into your lungs, holding at the top, and release, 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 empty, empty, empty. Last one, deep breath in, feeling that, noticing it, being with it. Hold at the top, and that is it. Letting it go, letting it go. And now bring some movement into your body, moving your head around, rolling your shoulders, maybe moving your fingers. And if your eyes were closed, blinking them open. And here we are talking about self-compassion and how important it is. And one of the things that we always do, or not always, but at least a lot of the time try to do, is define what it is we're here to talk about. So let's define what self-compassion is. Will.
Okay, should we start with this quote by Kristen Neff, who's like a modern day kind of sage around compassion?
Yeah, she's great.
All right.
I'm reading her book right now. It's fantastic.
Oh, which one?
It's entitled Self-Compassion. And it's actually, we've got some snippets from the book that I pulled off websites that I didn't realize were in the book until today. So and
she has a lot of TED Talks and YouTubes and stuff out there as well. And we reached out to her to get her on the show. So hopefully that'll materialize. Okay, so here's a quote.
Hey, if you're listening and you know Kristen Neff,
Hit up
We
the
would love it.
MTM.
We would love it if you guys could connect us.
Yeah, thank you. More brothers and sisters need to hear this. Everybody
That's right.
needs to hear about more self-compassion. So here we go. I'm going to be very self-compassionate and try not to fuck up this quote. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, here we go. You may try to change in ways that allow you to be more healthy and happy, but this is done because you care about yourself, not because you are worthless or unacceptable as you are. Perhaps most importantly, having compassion for yourself means that you honor and accept your humanness. Things will not always go the way you want them to. You will encounter frustrations, losses will occur. You will make mistakes, bump up against your limitations, fall short of your ideals. This is the human condition, a reality shared by all of us. The more you open your heart to this reality instead of constantly fighting against it, the more you will be able to feel compassion for yourself and all other fellow human beings in the experience of life. That's beautiful by Chris. That's awesome. That's Kristen Neff. Beautiful quote by her. Yeah, so that's kind of our nice baseline here. So really what I'm gathering from this, John, as I read it, is accepting our humanness, accepting our flaws, accepting the way life flows, wins, losses, ups, downs, sadness, happiness, like relationships fail, I fail here, I win there. And just really self-compassion seems to be a great elixir, if you will, that just allows us to be present, which is a big part of what I learned during the Cultivating the Heart during the Sea Cares. Is like really just compassion really helps to be present, and it allows us to when things do not go the way that we want, or we begin to get consumed by negative feelings or something like that, like self-compassion. That's what we're calling the self-compassion to the rescue, because it really makes a huge difference, because it really begins to wire us into, okay, I'm just human, and humans are flawed. We're completely flawed. How about yourself, John?
Well,
As we read
what
this,
jumped out
yeah.
from that quote, and it's similar to love, right? It's not the same. Self-love and self-compassion, not the same.
Right.
But I believe it's similar in that we talk about, or people talk about, that you cannot love others without loving yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't truly be compassionate with others, which we all know is so important to so much else. It's a part of love. It's a part of a functioning society, a healthy functioning society. It's part of a functioning, healthy relationship with your friends, your colleagues, your romantic relationships. But you can't do that without self-compassion. If you're completely beating yourself up all the time, then you're not practicing self-compassion. And then that leads to beating up others, resentment for others, resentment for yourself. It's that self-compassion is what all the other compassion is built upon.
Right.
So that's I love that she finished it with, the more you will be able to feel compassion for yourself and all your fellow humans in the experience of life. That's awesome.
Well, I like this also in our notes here. It's like self-compassion entails being warm and understanding towards ourselves when we suffer, fail, or feel inadequate, rather than ignoring our pain or flagellating ourselves with self-criticism, which, like, you experienced yesterday. I probably
Yesterday, right?
experience it half the day, every day.
I experienced it yesterday. For those of you who don't know, so we're recording this one off cycle. We're recording on a Tuesday. Normally we do this on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And the next few Fridays between Thanksgiving and some work and personal things, I'm not able to record. So I started to beat myself up because of my busy schedule. And then another wrench was thrown in the works at the last second, and I was texting Will. I'm like, hey, we need to adjust this. We need to adjust that. I'm so sorry. This sucks. I'm a terrible person, basically, is what I was feeling. I'm like, I'm a terrible colleague to Will because I'm constantly flexing and having to move things around, or ask him to flex with me as I move things around. And as I was doing that, Will replied, he was like, hey, man, it's all good. We're doing the best we can. And I realized that in those texts, back that text conversation back and forth, I was doing this self-flagellation and self-criticism. And I was like, I'm the worst. And then I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to practice some self-compassion as we prepare for our episode on self-compassion.
Yeah, for real.
So, yeah, man.
Well, good job. Well, there's a bunch, we can keep talking about our personal experience if we want, John. I have a bunch of notes that we can kind of run through that are really, I kind of, talked about or was running through in preparation for this. Actually, this Wednesday is our eighth of the last week of 8 weeks with the Cultivating the Heart course, and I'm learning a ton.
Yeah, tell us, man.
Okay. Well, I'll give you some snippets, and then we can dive a little bit deeper into the notes. So I thought it would be great to move into the power of self-compassion. A big component of self-compassion, or of compassion in general, and self-compassion as well, is being an active listener, right? And what does it mean to listen on the inside? Is like, that with the practice of meditation, the practice of mindfulness, the practice of self-compassion is all about going inside, going on the inside. And we go on the inside and we get quiet, and it helps to find our breath and release stress by, staying active and meditating and all the things we talk about during the show. We get into that intuitive, we get more in touch with this whatever is going on the inside, this source of love and kindness and inspiration. And so we can listen to that and actively maybe kind of listen to that and follow that in some ways, but also in our relationships outside, other than ourselves, just to simply actively listen to somebody and hold space without judgment. And kind of, I like the way that one of our teachers described it as going along for the ride with them as you listen, instead of and let things happen, instead of, active listening, I thought is not, where's my notes here? Is not trying to fix things. Where is it? Where? Not trying to fix their problems, not trying to solve things, not trying to negotiate in some ways. And just instead of trying to change anything from what they're saying, just simply actively listen is a very huge piece of compassion. And I also, what we're learning is dose dependent. The more mindful and present we become, the more, we become more present for other people. And, the more where we want to practice because of the feelings that come through of just being present with other people.
What was that? Dose dependent?
Dose dependent, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So I like that. That's a good concept,
like
right? So it's like the more you show up, the more you get quiet, the more you begin to continually practice more self-compassion, not that flagellating, criticism and kind of going hating on yourself. The more you're going to be able to be more compassionate for other people. And maybe that compassion just also can show up not just shutting your mouth and not even kind of commenting on a particular situation, or not even trying to help, and just staying on your side of the fence. I think we may have
talked about this commercial before. It's an old commercial, and I forget what it's advertising, but it starts behind it starts with a image from behind the couch, and there's a couple sitting on the couch, and the woman is talking to the man about the pressure that she's feeling and how uncomfortable things are. And the camera slowly pans, and it continues to pan. And he's just looking at her, and she, once it gets to the front, or where you can see her forehead, she has a nail in her forehead.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, if we just pull the nail out. And she's like, it's not about the nail. She's like, I just want you to listen to me. I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. It's a joke, right? I mean, she obviously has this actual nail coming out of her forehead. And if you did pull that out, it would definitely help. But that's where we want to, when we try to practice quote unquote active listening, we're like, oh, well, active listening is wanting to fix something,
right?
Is wanting to help to fix their situation, when in actuality, it's just being with them. It's being with them, not doing something to them.
Well, that's one thing that's a really important distinction they make as well. And active compassion is being with somebody and not for them.
Yeah.
Okay. So being with them, meaning they talk about it like you're in a tennis court. You stay on your side of the court, right? Whereas yes, I mean, compassion, part of compassion is to the wanting to see others, or to lessen their suffering, or to see them to stop suffering. But there's a big difference when we get into that space of I'm with you or I'm for you. I'm here for you, which you lose your own agency in that point. You lose, like, you begin to cross over the fence or over the,
Mm.
over the net or whatever. And then you become a part of their suffering.
Mm.
So it's like, there's like a really interesting distinction here. They also talk about empathic distress, which I thought was like a really versus empathic care. I don't know if we
Wow.
want to go
Yeah,
down
man.
that rabbit hole.
Help me understand that. The
Okay.
empathic stress, empathic care. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a bunch of notes on that. So, and so empathic care is defined as characterized by tenderness, caring, openness, and warmth. Okay. Leads to others others related emotions, positive feelings. Leads to others related emotions, positive feelings, including love, good health, and connection. This is empathic care, right? An awareness of others' suffering and understanding their experience rather than feeling their pain. That's gonna shift over to empathic distress, which I'll talk about in a second.
Okay.
All right. So again, it's an awareness of others' suffering. Okay, so I could see, like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
I feel so bad for that person, right?
Right.
And understanding their experience, right? That's like kind of being human with them,
Yeah.
right? Rather than feeling their pain, so not taking on someone's pain.
Okay.
Right. I know, like, I had a friend a long time ago that when I was going through this course, she's just a lovely, lovely, lovely woman. And she's deep into her practice of meditation and yoga. And she works in, like, the social media industry and, like, a social media presence for people and companies and stuff like that. And, she would go into class and she would, like, start to, like, cry, because someone else was, like, really upset, or she can feel someone else's pain or something like that. And her teacher was like, well, ask yourself, or ask yourself, is that your pain? And if it's
Mm.
not your pain, right, then you're going into empathic distress and
Mm.
causing pain for yourself. Okay.
Okay.
So, and then
I know
again,
that those who are true empaths,
yeah,
this is something that they struggle with. Like,
yeah, exactly.
they can't
Yeah,
drive down the road and see someone
like a homeless
homeless
person or something, right?
without
Right.
really taking on that
Yeah.
stress, that distress.
Right. Right.
Now I'm starting to see the difference here.
Yeah, and the last thing it says here in the notes, it's an understanding that it's their pain. Okay, again, it's their pain. It's there. I'm here with you. I'm observing, right? But I'm not necessarily, like, here to rescue or pull you out of your pain.
Okay.
And there is obviously a fine line here, because you do want to help other people, but it's
Yeah.
like, so how to increase empathic care, I thought was good. So there's two ways, through mindfulness awareness that it's happening, and a focus on the present moment, right? So it's the ability to be where you are, doing what you're doing, aware of my body, mind, and my environment, and being present to what's happening, and non-judgmentally accepting. This helps to regulate our distress. Okay, so that's one way. Again, increased empathic care is being mindful and being aware and being in the present moment, and being aware of my mind, body, and my environment. Okay, but not necessarily, not so not necessarily trying to necessarily do anything. Okay, the second one is awareness that this is not your suffering; it's theirs. And again, this is your pain, not mine. I am here with you, not for you. And these phrases remind me that I can even make a moment, or I can take a moment, sitting back and feeling and sitting on my own 2 feet on the ground here and here present with my own agency. So it's just like, so I hope I'm making sense of that.
Yeah.
Any questions there with
No,
empathic care?
that's helpful to kind of understand the two. So
Well,
it
we're gonna
sounds as though
empathic.
empathic care
Mm-hmm.
is closer to compassion than empathic
It is
distress,
compassion,
right?
Well, empathic distress, we're going to go, here's a whole thing here, right? Here, what is empathic distress? And again, this is the opposite. When one feels distressed or gets triggered over another person's suffering.
Mm.
Okay. So this is taking on someone's suffering. This is imbuing it and feeling it, and then being like, maybe you're in tears or and I definitely do. I get sad, when I
Sure.
see people suffering,
Of course.
and because I'm a human being, and I'm definitely an empathic, but I don't go deeply into distress, One time I did. I was walking. I was here up on 23rd Street in Manhattan, and I walked by. Oh, this is so hard for me. I walked by this woman, and she had 2 young kids next to her, and she's looking for food. And I was like, oh my God, I just immediately flipped out. Walked into the store next to them. There's like some really cool like grocery store next to them. I bought them like $40 of groceries and put the bags next to them on the way out. Like
Nice.
I couldn't help. I couldn't help myself. To see the kids. I was like,
Of
oh
course.
my God. Like, right. Anyway. So I guess I was acting in empathic distress, but I really just feel I needed to do something because I didn't want to see anybody, especially those kids, go hungry. Okay. So that's the first part. One feels distress and gets triggered by another person's suffering. It is discomfort, upset, and suffering in response to suffering. Okay, that's what empathic distress is. It is discomfort, upset, and suffering in response to suffering. Right? Empathic distress can be a form of your own trauma response to the suffering of others. I think this is a big This is a big one here because of something that happened in your past. You might identify yourself with the other person that's suffering, so therefore it relives your suffering, and then you get into empathic distress.
Yeah.
Okay. And it goes on a little bit further. We go into our own fight, flight, freeze in response to their suffering, right? So we begin to boom. We get really, that's what the whole triggering is. It leads to self-related emotions, stress, poor health, burnout, and withdrawal. So that's where empathic distress could boom, put you into a very negative space. Poor health, burnout, stress. Empathic distress comes from your own wounds and the ways we defend and protect against them. I thought that was interesting too. So again, that kind of comes back to what we said earlier, or we just mentioned about reliving your own trauma in some ways. Feels like an effort. Yeah, it feels like an effort and is very limited and always draining. That's another aspect of empathic distress, and may feel like your pain and suffering is you may feel like their pain and suffering is yours. So that's empathic distress versus empathic care.
Right.
So anything, I hope this is helpful.
So the empathic care is compassion, whereas empathic distress, it causes a lot of this negativity.
Right.
How does that tie to self-compassion? So the empathic care,
right,
and compassion are synonymous. So how does empathic care tie to self-care, and how do we practice that without delving into some form of like the flagellation, right, that we talked about? So we're starting to feel this distress, and then we start to beat ourselves up about that. And something that I saw in our notes, which really like blew me away, was that beating yourself up. So this self-flagellation that we talked about, beating yourself up is a paradoxical form of self-centeredness. So you're beating yourself up, thinking that by beating yourself up, you're going to actually, make things better for those around you, make things better for yourself. But what you're really doing is trying to make yourself, you're punishing yourself, and you're thinking that by punishing yourself, you're going to ultimately feel better and be better. And it's all tied to self-centeredness. It's wild. Which
it's great. I mean, but
so
yeah, think about it, right?
So
so true. So
again,
true.
like this morning, right? My example with my kids, I started to get frustrated with them, and then I started to get upset at myself for being frustrated, and I started to beat myself up. Well, why was I beating myself up? I was beating myself up so that I would feel as though I had done something right, that I had done something to almost warrant some level of forgiveness. Okay, well, now I've beaten myself up, some level, to the level that, okay, now I've done this, now I can forgive myself, and now they can forgive me for being frustrated. And it was all self-driven, right?
Exactly.
So it's really interesting how that beating yourself up is that paradoxical form of self-centeredness. I love that you put that. Did you get that from CCare?
Yeah, I did. I get that. Yeah, I was like, boom, that really hit me in the face.
Yeah,
it's like,
for sure,
big time. And what we're doing throughout the program in order to develop more self-care is, the distinction that, and we talked about this with my buddy Dan St. Pierre on the show, and we did that episode on heartfulness, and we kept seeing more of this theme as we went in deeper into this season is like the mind and the heart, the difference between the mind and the heart. The mind divides, discerns, dissects, like, and needs to, like, everything has have its place. A microphone, plant back there, right? Chair, wall, coffee cup, right? Because that we need to. This is important in order to be in this world of this material world. But how we are as human beings are from living from the heart, and the heart is this unifying energy. Right? It's not separating energy, it's unifying energy. And the way that we begin to develop more self-compassion is to get out of the mind, right? And everything's got to be divided, right? And this is how we get into that egoic way of thinking, because all about me, all about me, all about me. And that's just all from the mind. But we get deeper into the heart through these practices. We're doing a lot of loving kindness meditations. You mentioned, James, this all, based on a lot of the foundation of this is based on, the basis of the magic shop, into the magic shop with Dodi. And first is to relax the body, relax the body, get away from the stress. That was the first week. And then we opened up into active listening. And then we went deeper into the compassion and self-compassion. And the work we're working with these last, week 6 and 7 is getting into understanding empathic distress and understanding, empathic care. But we had to first begin to relax the body, and it's just literally taking time, dose dependent, right? If you're going to get deeper into the heart and begin to understand and begin to attune to the frequency and the love that's already in the heart, is already there, John. It takes practice. It's going to take a lot of practice, and where you start developing compassion is that self-compassion. And it's like you had a great example of it, of you stopping yourself from beating yourself up, and then stop, right? We talked about stop.
Perfect. That's what I was about to ask.
Right.
Yep.
So stop. I had a little IG post on this, and it's S.T.O.P. In this case, it stands for, and maybe we should actually, I had a cousin of mine. He goes, does stop really stand for stop, S, right? Take a breath, observe, and proceed, right? So I was like, Jack, I don't think it does, but I wish that's what it fucking actually meant,
he thinks,
right?
he
thinks like every stop sign is an acronym.
Let's make it that way. Like, you got to stop. You got to stop at the stop sign. You got to take a breath. You do have to observe what's going on and then proceed. So maybe he's right. Maybe that's what it's been the whole time.
What I would add to this is proceed with kindness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Proceed with self-kindness, proceed with kindness for other people. You know what I mean? So it's like, and taking that breath, that's why we do the breath. That's why we do the breath in the beginning. Calm down,
right?
Observe because once we calm down, we're able to observe in a present way. And when you're more present, we're naturally more compassionate because we're not all up in the rage or whatever, or the dissection of the mind. And we're into the body, into the heart, and then we can proceed. And how many times do we say it, John, or how many times have any of who's listening have heard it in so many different places? It's like, it's amazing what loving kindness can do, and patience, and all the qualities and values and virtues that come with being kind and being compassionate, and on the doors that open up, and the conversations that happen, and the opportunities that come your way, and the relationships that begin to happen in your life by being more present, calm, and compassionate. It's like it's really just, it opens up so much. So go ahead.
Well, I want to, we've been talking about self-compassion for a while, right? But the word itself, self-compassion, or the words, they get a bad rap, right? You talk about, okay, well, you're being compassionate towards yourself, but that's really just weakness. It's self-pity. And this is coming off of Kristen Neff's website and her book. She talks about what misperceptions there or misconceptions there are about self-compassion. And one of them is that it's self-pity. The next one is that it's self-indulgence, and the next one is that it's self-esteem. And she says, self-compassion is not self-pity. When individuals feel self-pity, they become immersed in their own problems and forget that others have similar problems. That's the thing. I know I get wrapped up in that.
Yeah, that's the egoic mind.
I get, oh man, I'm the only one with problems. Everyone else has this perfect life. Will's over there living a perfect life. Lindsay, any other people with kids, they've got it all figured out. Meanwhile, I'm over here in this freaking chaos cesspool.
There you go.
Yeah, it's
It's a
not.
great way to describe your life, John. I'm just kidding.
Hey, it's the human experience, right? It is
Right,
chaotic,
right.
and it's lovely. It's messy, but it's we have to love that mess and that chaos. But she goes on further. They ignore their interconnections with others and instead feel that they are the only ones in the world who are suffering. Self-pity tends to emphasize egocentric feelings of separation from others and exaggerate the extent of personal suffering. So self-compassion is not that. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence. Remember
Right.
that being compassionate to oneself means that you want to be happy and healthy in the long term. In many cases, just giving oneself pleasure may harm well-being, such as taking drugs, overeating, being a couch potato, while giving yourself health and lasting happiness often involves a certain amount of displeasure, such as quitting smoking, losing weight, exercising. So self-compassion does not equal self-indulgence. And then finally, she says self-compassion is not self-esteem. Although self-compassion may seem similar, they are different. Self-esteem refers to our sense of self-worth, perceived value, or how much we like ourselves. While there is little doubt that low self-esteem is problematic and often leads to depression and lack of motivation, trying to have a higher self-esteem can also be problematic. Like if you got a low self-esteem and someone comes up and they're like, hey, you need to work on your self-esteem. That just doesn't work, right?
Right.
So in modern Western culture, self-esteem is often based on how much we are different from others, how special we are, how much
This
we
is the
stand
mind again.
out. It's right.
Yeah.
It's that ego, right?
Yeah, separating
Egocentric.
energy.
Yes. Hey, we are here. Everybody else is there. They are the others.
Yeah.
And it is not okay in this self-esteem world. It is not okay to be average. We feel that we have to be above average in everything. And she makes this great point in the book, not so much in these notes, that there have to be some people that are below average. There have to be some people that are average, and there have to be some people that are above average. But you're not going to be above average in everything, and not everybody can be above average in everything all the time. So we have to realize that that's often the self-esteem and that self-absorbed kind of way of thinking.
And
So
self-defeating, it sounds like, because you're never going to be on top, and you're always, it's like a constant competitive attitude, nature,
right,
energy, the way of connecting to the world. It's just like, I got to win,
right,
crush. And what does it take to win? And what are the words that we kind of typically hear? It's like, oh, crush the competition, going to beat them
right,
up. I'm like,
right.
I'll pulverize them, it's just like,
Yep.
and it's honestly, what are you doing? That's the way that you're on the inside. That's what's going on for you. You know what I
Right.
mean? I need to crush this,
You're
do this,
comparing
or,
yourself.
yeah.
You're comparing yourself to what you should be,
Or what you did
or what
yesterday,
you
or
did
how,
yesterday,
right.
or what you have been in the past, and it's this constant comparing.
Mm-hmm.
So, in contrast to self-esteem, self-compassion is not based on self-evaluations. People feel compassion for themselves because all human beings deserve this compassion and understanding, not because they possess some particular set of traits, not because they're pretty, not because they're smart, not because they're talented. They deserve this self-compassion, and then you deserve this self-compassion. So I wanted to make sure, as we're talking about this, kind of like people may perceive this word as kind of soft, and they may perceive it as something it's not. I wanted to make sure we used Kristen Neff's kind of outline there to describe what it is not. Now, that all said, let's talk about how to cultivate it in ourselves. So I'm sure through your C-Care course, you've been talking about that. Let's
3
talk about
steps,
that.
brother. 3
Yeah.
steps. The 3 steps. Okay. And this is again, dose dependent. It's a work in progress. There's so first is being aware of our suffering. So those meditations I've been doing at 6:30 p.m. on Insight Timer, like the first several weeks that I started doing this. I think I started like 5 or 6 weeks ago. Well, I did this self-compassion meditation, right?
Nice.
And you can do and you can do this. I will eventually. I promise you and our audience that I will do a self-compassion meditation and I'll put it on the platform for us.
Heck
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So first is being aware of our suffering. Okay, so therefore we got to get quiet, we got to sit, we got to breathe, we got to go on the inside, right? We need to also, what's interesting about suffering is we have to be know that we're suffering. We need to develop eventually this like emotional vocabulary for what our suffering is, because the more specific we are, the more we can identify it, the more we can bring our own compassion and begin to heal it. So acknowledging our suffering, which is an illness or a disappointment, And then, at the physical levels, not just mentally, right? At the somatically, right? So we should
Mm,
bring Jay Fields back on and talk about
yeah.
the somatic body, right? Because it's all like I can feel like, I mean, when I feel anxiety a certain way, I feel, fuck, even just say I feel lost in a certain way. It's just, oh God, and I feel, agitation or rage in a different way in my body, so we have to begin to identify these things. And we acknowledge in our body. So that is, those are, and also this is important, and this is a work in progress. And what I'm going to do next, John, I'm going to go after the CCARES course and study NVC, nonviolent communication.
Mm,
And one of the greatest contributions that Marshall Rosenberg has brought to the world is the fact that we are our needs, and most of us are, the way we express ourselves, the way we begin to communicate in the world, or the way we act in the world, is a tragic expression of an unmet need. And I was like, whoa, right? A tragic
yeah.
expression of unmet need. So once we get to know what that need is, and need on the inside, then we can actually go out and do something about that. They gave us a whole list of like 80 words of like all different needs in like 6 or 7 different categories. Like really fascinating to go down that and realize like, oh, when I'm suffering, a need is not being met. And if I know what that need is, then I can actively go out and satisfy that need. So that's like the first step here of self-compassion. Second, which I really love, and it comes back to empathy, right, is a recognition of common humanity.
Mm,
You kind of
yep.
touched on it a little bit
Yeah,
earlier,
Kristen
John,
Neff
like,
talks about that one
right.
too.
Yeah. And this is huge. Like, I've been doing this meditation every time that I realize that I'm not the only one suffering in this world. I'm not the only one that has suffered in this particular way, considering all the billions of human beings that came
Right.
before us, right? And
Right.
all the billion, apparently I just saw an article, 8 billion people now on the planet. Of the 8 billion souls
Wow.
that are on this world, someone is suffering almost exactly like you are, but just in a different place, right? And
Yeah.
just having that common humanity begins to draw a sense of empathy on the inside. It's like, oh wait, there's like, I'm connected to others. I'm connected, I'm connected. There's like a common humanity that really helps us it helps me as I'm going through this course to realize that it gets me out of my egocentric suffering. It's like, oh, it's like all about me, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So this is some notes here. Someone else has been here too. I'm not alone in this. It's relief for not being alone. This is that,
Mm,
recognition of common humanity. Growth within the heart, right? So your heart begins to expand, which is great. Coming back to the heart energy, right? The unifying it. The heart begins to expand because of the empathy of just the mental recognition that you're not alone. And what it does, it keeps us away from isolating, hiding, and not talking about it. Okay,
right.
so that's what a common humanity does. Because
And
and then
Kristen Neff with
mhm,
the common humanity, because this is also within her recommendations on how to develop that self-compassion. She says it's recognizing that all humans are flawed. We are
right,
all works in progress, that everyone fails, makes mistakes, and experiences hardship in life. And at some point in the book, she's like, "Oh, wait," she has a little sarcasm that she injects as though she's speaking to God or her heavenly being or whatever. And she says, whoa, 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 whoa. I thought I ordered the life that was free of flaws and free of challenges and free of
good fucking luck.
obstacles. Yeah, exactly. There's no such thing, right? There's no such thing. And she talks about specifically like being on a playground and looking around and realizing that all these mothers and fathers who are there with their kids, they've all got their own unique challenges, but they have challenges within parenting.
Mhm.
And then those children have challenges as a child, and they will have more challenges through their lives. None of us are going to make it through this life without challenges. None of us are going to make it through this life without failures, without falling on our face, without beating ourselves up. So we need to find how to cultivate this self-compassion. So I love that
Yeah,
common humanity piece.
yeah.
So last one,
But
man, I know I rambled on there for a second.
no, no, no. Never ramble, John. I mean, I love when you're flowing. But also it's that common humanity. It's like we're not alone, man, and we're gonna be more willing to talk about it, and it just to do something about it. And it's, as men, I feel we really suffer with not talking about our problems, not talking about our feelings, not talking about our struggles in some ways. And, I know I have a lot of men in my family that, and a lot of friends that I've known throughout the years that just refuse to admit their problems. And maybe
Sure.
that common humanity, like I'm not the only man that has ever suffered this way, could definitely do something that could just allow you to just let go of the ego and kind of step into, who we are,
Right.
or, our common humanity. So last one is self-kindness and self-mentoring. So these are two parts of this last, of this third key here to developing self-compassion, self-kindness and self-mentoring. And this is what it looks like. How can I be kind to myself? That's really kind of like the question here in this case. Sorry, you guys, everything's popping. Okay. How can I be more kind to myself? What can I say to myself that will be comforting? Okay. So in that moment, what can I say to myself that will be comforting? So keywords, right? Or sorry. So not, I can't read my own notes. So kind words that are assuring, kind words that are supportive and loving to yourself. Right. So again, we identify first, we identify that we're suffering. There's an unmet need somewhere in that suffering, right? We have the common humanity, and then we begin to coach ourselves into deeper compassion by being loving, kind to ourselves, supportive and assuring, and helpful self-talk, right? So what, again, can you say to yourself if you're having a tough time that is going to be loving and kind? And it isn't, instead of tearing yourself down, that's self-flagellation. So that is, and then of course they go into self-compassion versus self-esteem, which really helped me to really open up, because I didn't realize I'm a big self-esteem guy. Really
Sure.
big self-esteem guy. And that really, and there's a lot of ego in that, because I'm always trying to be like, oh, I'm better than that person, I'm better than this person, better than that. I didn't do that. Ha ha ha. And just like almost like laughing in the face of other people's failures or demise in some ways.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah,
I didn't fuck that up.
Yeah,
It's like,
Kristen Neff goes
whoa,
into
like,
that quite a bit in
that
her
is
book. It's
exactly the opposite.
the opposite.
Yeah.
The opposite.
So,
yeah.
mhm.
So if you
That's
notice
what we
yourself
got.
doing that,
Mhm.
and don't beat yourself up.
Right.
Notice it, and then take a step back and reverse it. Right.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
So the kind words towards yourself, the kind words towards towards others. If you notice something opposite happening, notice it, don't beat yourself up, and reverse it. I think that's critical, man.
And if you're really, if you're out there and it can be a very critical or judgmental person, maybe a great place to start is not voicing that criticism or that judgment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like keep it on the inside to start, or maybe, it would be helpful, John, to understand where you kind of are. And then they give there's actually a compassion survey. Maybe Kristen Neff has it on her website. I'm sure she does.
She does.
That you can
She
just
does.
actually, it's like 26 questions or something like that. You can see where you are in the compassion scale based on like 4 or 5 different types or aspects of your life, whether it's relationships, yourself, the world, the environment, and stuff like that. So if you are somebody that could be very critical, very judgmental, or maybe considered mean in some ways, it's like, it starts with self-awareness, and maybe just asking someone that's very close. It's like, am I an asshole? Or like, can I, could I be a little kinder in this particular circumstance or situation or something like that, or maybe just look at your life. And it's just like, if you don't have any really close friends or really deep conversations with people, then, maybe there's something to be said there. You know what I mean? Because maybe they, I don't really want to share myself and my darkness or whatever else is coming through me or my emotions with somebody that is just gonna like self-flagellate me or flagellate me with their words, and then I'm like, so we're going to talk about on one of our episodes in toxic relationships, which
that's our very next one
coming up very soon.
Yeah.
Anything else, John? I think we can
No,
anything else you want to say? I'm going to roll through the notes, but go ahead.
I think that's a good place to end it, right? We've defined it. We've talked about ways to notice it and be aware of it, and then ways to help to bring that self-compassion into your life without the self-pity, without the self-esteem, without the ego. So I think we've done a good job covering it. If you want more information, we're going to have some of those books and resources in the notes, and we'll have it on our website. Kristen Neff is a fantastic person to read about this stuff from, listen to her videos or watch her videos and whatever else. So no, I think this is a good place to wrap it up, man.
And C-Care is a great course. This 8-week course
sure.
is very thorough. It's only like $425 for 8 weeks. It was like rather inexpensive for, 2 hours, every once a week for 8 weeks, which was good. And, and one thing I will say, like, because they talk about this in the program, it's like, if you want to, maybe you're a little intimidated or scared to practice self-compassion because you will be seen as weak, go to the people that you're closest with, whether it's like your spouse or your mother or a sibling, and maybe start to exercise and up your dose dependency, in order to understand what it's like to communicate from the heart, to speak from the heart. Because it's amazing when you do. It's just like, boom. That's when people go, oh, I felt that. It's because it's boom. It just comes from this energetic, and they're, heart math is talking about, for years, studying the electromagnetic frequency of the heart and how we're all interconnected through the heart and through the mind. So it's like when you're speaking from this heartful, loving, compassionate place, people really receive, people really learn. So, but let's do this. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I love it, man. Love it. Love where your head's at. Love where your heart's at. So good stuff, man. Yeah, you want to wrap it up with a closing practice?
Yeah, let's just take a couple breaths, guys, and we'll finish this off. So ground yourself, close the eyes if you can. Let's exhale the breath out. And let's take a moment. We'll just put your little hand over your heart, or maybe both hands over your heart. Just take a couple of breaths here and just feel the pulse of your heart. And the deeper you kind of get into the heart, and don't stop thinking of it as the mind will, it's just an organ that like keeps us alive and keep the brain functioning. The more relax, taking those deeper breaths, and the more we get into this heart that we all have, we can really create such a wonderful life for ourselves in the present moment, and a wonderful future for us, ourselves, and also a past that we're probably less likely to regret. And it comes from this place in the heart. So we'll offer up that self-compassion meditation. There's no shortage of loving kindness meditations out there. So maybe that is a great path forward. Let's take a big giant breath in. Hold at the top, feel the heart for a moment. Exhale, let it go. We'll do one more inhale. Exhale, let it go. Awesome. Open the eyes when you're ready. That's great, John.
Right on, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for helping me to learn how to be more self-compassionate. And for our listeners, our audience, hopefully this has been helpful to you. Thank you for joining us today. We sincerely appreciate you, and you're tuning in. If you feel that this is something that has been important to you, or you may be able to share with others, please do so. Share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues, whoever you think could benefit. And then please give us a review and subscribe to the podcast, and check us out on YouTube. And until next time, it's been wonderful being with you. Until next time, peace.
Peace, everybody. Thank you
for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.